The docking clamps released with a metallic shriek that echoed through my cargo hauler's hull. I was 3 seconds from clearing the station when the Royal Frigate materialized in front of me, energy weapons already hot. My hands froze on the controls. The comms channel opened without my permission, overriding every system I had. "Cut your engines immediately." The voice was flat, mechanical, absolutely certain I would obey. I cut them. What else could I do? Royal Guard didn't make requests. They stated facts about what was going to happen next, and you either accepted reality or got vaporized for your philosophical disagreement with it. The tractor beam seized my ship like a giant's fist. I watched helplessly as they dragged me toward the station I'd just left, back past the commercial docks into a section I'd never seen before, sleek white corridors. Honor guards every 50 meters. This wasn't where traders went. This was where royalty lived, where decisions got made that affected entire star systems. My ship settled in a private hangar that probably cost more than I'd earn in a lifetime. The airlock cycled. I stayed in my seat, heart hammering, running through every cargo manifest from the past year. Had I transported something illegal, offended some noble without knowing it? Humans were still new to the galactic community. Maybe I'd broken some cultural taboo just by existing wrong. The inner door opened. 6 royal guards entered, their armor flowing like liquid mercury, faces hidden behind featureless masks. Between them walked something small, a child. She couldn't have been more than 7 in human years, though alien age was hard to judge. Her skin held that same pearl luminescent quality as the station's royal family, shifting between violet and silver in the light. Forearms, delicate as crystal, 2 folded formally against her chest in the posture I recognized as royal bearing. Her eyes were too large, too dark, fixed on me with unsettling intensity. She pointed one slender finger directly at my chest. "Him," she said, her voice like wind chimes. "This one." "Step out of the ship, slowly." I stood on shaking legs, descended the ramp. The guards parted, forming a corridor. The child stepped forward, studying me with that unblinking gaze. She was so small, so impossibly composed for something that looked like a child. "What's your name?" she asked. "Marcus Webb." My voice came out steadier than I felt. "Ma'am, Your Highness?" "I don't know the proper. Marcus is sufficient." She circled me once, examining me from every angle. "You transport medical supplies to the outer colonies?" "Yes." "You were carrying antibiotics to Threshold Station last month when the plague outbreak occurred." "I had the proper clearances. Everything was legal, I swear." "You stayed." Her head tilted, bird-like. "The station offered hazard pay for essential workers. You refused it. Worked for free for 6 weeks. Why?" The question hung in the air. The guards watched, silent as statues. "People were dying," I said simply. "They needed medicine." "I had a ship. Math wasn't complicated." She smiled then, just slightly. It made her look even more alien, even more ancient despite the child's face. "You'll do." "Your Highness." The lead guard's voice carried warning. "We should return to the palace. The Queen is waiting." The child, the princess, I realized with growing horror, shook her head. She already knows. I sent word when we intercepted him. Intercepted? I looked between them. "You were waiting for me specifically? I chose you 3 weeks ago," the princess said matter-of-factly. "Mother required proof of suitability. I've been monitoring your shipping routes, business practices, personal communications. Everything checked?" She turned to the guards. "Take him to the diplomatic suite. Feed him." "He's too thin." "Wait." I held up my hands. "Chose me for what? What's happening?" "For marriage, obviously. I'm Crown Princess Silvathara, first of her name, heir to the Crystal Throne. And you cannot leave." Marriage? To a child who looked 7 but spoke like she'd negotiated interstellar treaties. The guards moved in around me. Not threatening, just inevitable. "I'm human," I said desperately. "I'm nobody. There must be some mistake." "No mistake." Silvathara's voice carried absolute certainty. "I researched 47,000 potential candidates across 60 species. You have the correct psychological profile. Compatible biology can be managed. Our marriage will cement human-Velkari relations for the next century." I can't. Words failed. The guards were already escorting me toward a door I hadn't noticed, seamless in the white walls until it opened like a wound in reality. "You saved 17,000 people on Threshold Station," the princess said behind me. "You didn't have to. You just did it because it was right. That's what I need. What our people will need." I looked back at her, this small, alien child thing who just decided my entire future without asking. And if I refuse? Then you've misunderstood. This isn't a request, Marcus Webb. I am Crown Princess. I have chosen. The choice is made. The door sealed behind me with a whisper of displaced air. Through the crystalline walls, I could see the palace rising above, spires of light and impossible architecture. Somewhere in there, a queen waited. A queen who apparently approved of her daughter selecting a random human cargo hauler as royal consort? My legs gave out. I sat hard on furniture that adjusted to catch me, soft and warm and utterly alien. This couldn't be real. This couldn't be happening. But the guards outside my door were very real. The locked hangar holding my ship was very real. And somewhere in this impossible palace, a 7-year-old princess with 4 arms and eyes like dark stars had decided I was going to marry her, and not one person in the entire galaxy seemed to think this was insane. I put my head in my hands and tried to remember how to breathe. The suite was larger than my entire ship, all flowing curves and bioluminescent panels that pulsed with gentle light. The guards had left me alone after ensuring I understood the door wouldn't open for me, that my communicator wouldn't reach beyond these walls, that I was, in the politest possible terms, a prisoner. Food arrived through a wall panel, delivered by something that might have been a robot or might have been alive. I couldn't tell and wasn't sure it mattered. The meal was surprisingly good, adapted for human biology, which meant they'd been planning this long enough to get my nutritional profile. That should have been comforting. Instead, it made my skin crawl. I was picking at something that tasted like roasted chicken when the door chimed. Not opened. Chimed. Asking permission. Come in? I said, uncertain. The door flowed open. An older Valkyrie entered, her skin deeper purple, 4 arms moving in patterns I was starting to recognize as emotional language. Behind her, Princess Silvathara followed, hands folded in that formal position again. The older Valkyrie studied me with eyes that could have cut diamond. I am Queen Thesaravek. You've met my daughter. I stood so fast I nearly knocked over my food. Your Majesty, This is a misunderstanding. I'm just a cargo hauler. I'm nobody. Sit. Not harsh, but absolute. I sat. The queen settled across from me with fluid grace, Silvathara beside her. My daughter is 9th generation royal. She's been trained in statecraft since she could speak, educated by the finest minds in 12 systems. Her judgment, while young, is sound. When she told me she'd chosen a human, I was skeptical. I'm still skeptical, I said before I could stop myself. The queen's mouth quirked. Good. Intelligence is attractive in a consort. You think this is madness. Your daughter looks 7 years old. She's 19 in standard years. Valkyrie mature differently than humans. Her body will reach full adult development in approximately 4 more years. The marriage would not be consummated until she comes of age by both our standards and yours. The queen's voice was clinical, matter-of-fact. We researched your customs thoroughly. I stopped, recalibrated. She's still a child. No, Silvathara said quietly. I'm not. I understand you see a child because my body resembles your young, but I've negotiated trade agreements with the Zorthian Collective. I speak 14 languages. I've studied xenopsychology, military strategy, and economic theory since I was 4. I know exactly what I'm doing. She leaned forward and her eyes held something ancient despite the young face. You're afraid because this violates your cultural expectations. That's reasonable. But consider, I need a consort who won't be corrupted by power, who understands duty to something beyond themselves, who can see need and respond without calculating advantage. How many royals do you think possess those qualities? How many cargo haulers do? I shot back. 1, she smiled. You. I watched you work on Threshold Station. You slept 4 hours a night for 6 weeks. You gave away your own food when supplies ran low. You held dying people's hands when the medics were overwhelmed. Her voice softened. You're kind, Marcus Webb. Genuinely kind, not performatively. That's rare in the royal courts. That's what I need beside me when I take the throne. I don't know anything about being royal. You'll learn, the queen said. We'll teach you. Protocol, languages, customs, history. You'll have tutors, advisors, guards, everything you need. What if I just want to leave? The question came out quiet, defeated. I already knew the answer. The queen's expression didn't change. Then you'll spend the rest of your life in comfortable confinement, because my daughter has made her choice, and Valkyrie law doesn't permit the chosen to be released. It would dishonor her publicly, undermine her authority before she even takes the throne. That cannot happen. So, I'm a prisoner. You're the future prince consort, the queen corrected. The distinction matters. I laughed, slightly unhinged. This is insane. You realize this is insane? Perhaps. The queen stood, a gesture of dismissal. But it's also happening. You have 3 days to adjust to the reality of your situation. On the 4th day, there will be a formal betrothal ceremony. You'll be presented to the court. The announcement will go out to our allied systems, and your life as Marcus Webb, cargo hauler, will effectively end.
The queen's eyes went cold.
Then you'll be sedated, dressed appropriately, and move through the ceremony unconscious. The public doesn't need to know you resisted, but one way or another, this happens. I suggest you choose dignity. She swept toward the door, then paused. My daughter is brilliant, compassionate, and will be one of the greatest rulers our people have ever known. You could do far worse than spending your life supporting her. Consider that before you decide cooperation is beneath you. The door closed behind her. Silvathara remained, watching me with those 2 dark eyes. You hate this, she said. Not a question. Wouldn't you, if someone just decided your entire future without asking? She tilted her head, considering. It happens to royalty constantly. I didn't choose to be crown princess. I was born to it. My entire life has been decided by biology and tradition. She stood, moved toward the door. At least I chose you. At least one of us got to make a choice. That's supposed to make me feel better? No. She looked back at me, and for the first time I saw something vulnerable in her expression. It's supposed to make you understand that we're both trapped. The difference is, I'm trapped with someone I researched and selected carefully. You're trapped with a stranger. I'm sorry for that. But I'm not sorry I chose you. She left me alone with those words echoing in the too large room. I didn't sleep. How could I? 3 days until a ceremony that would chain me to an alien princess forever. 3 days until my life ended and something else began, something I couldn't even imagine. The walls showed a view of the palace gardens, bioluminescent flowers blooming in patterns that hurt to look at directly. Beautiful and completely alien, like everything here. She was 19, adult by her standards, even if she looked like a child to me. Brilliant, she'd said. Trained in statecraft, negotiation, leadership. And she'd chosen me because I'd helped people during a plague. The absurdity of it crashed over me again. I pressed my hands against my eyes, trying to find some stable ground in a situation that had none. The door chimed again around midnight. I almost didn't answer, but curiosity won. Come in. Silvathara entered alone, wearing something simpler than before, closer to normal clothing than royal regalia. Can't sleep either? I asked. I rarely sleep more than 4 hours. She settled on the floor across from me, cross-legged, the posture startlingly human. I thought you might have questions. Better to ask them now than spend 3 days spiraling. Why me, really? There must be thousands of candidates who'd actually want this. 17,000 applied when I announced I was seeking a consort, she said. Nobles, warriors, scholars, all properly qualified, all politically advantageous, all absolutely wrong. How? She activated the data pad, showed me files. Faces, names, statistics. This one beat his servants. This one embezzled from charity funds. This one was only interested in the power, wanted to use marriage to stage a coup. This one was addicted to Threnroot, would have been incapacitated within 5 years. She swiped through dozens more. Everyone seemed perfect on the surface. Everyone was rotten underneath.
And I'm different?
You didn't apply. You didn't want this. That alone made you interesting. She pulled up my file, and I felt violated seeing my whole life reduced to data points. But more than that, you're consistent. Every action over the past 5 years shows the same pattern. Help when you can. Take the harder right over the easier wrong. Refuse shortcuts that would hurt others. She looked up at me. Do you know how rare that is? Especially in someone with no oversight, no one watching to ensure good behavior? I'm not a saint. I need someone who'll tell me the truth when my advisors are lying, who'll remember that policies affect real people, who won't be corrupted when surrounded by wealth and power. She set down the pad. I need you, Marcus Webb. I know you don't understand that yet, but you will. We sat in silence for a moment. Then she asked, what would you be doing if I hadn't chosen you? Probably halfway to the Perseus cluster. There's a medical shortage on Kepler Station, needed supplies run in. People would die without those supplies? Probably some... yeah, she said. She nodded slowly. We'll send a royal courier with the shipment. Faster than your hauler, better equipped. The supplies will arrive in half the time. She paused. Your life here doesn't mean abandoning what you care about. You'll have resources now, more ability to help than you ever did alone. As your propaganda puppet, as my partner. She stood, moved toward the door. 3 days, Marcus. Try to see this as something other than a prison sentence, for both our sakes. After she left, I pulled up the information about Kepler Station on my own datapad, checking the news feeds. Within 2 hours, a royal courier had already departed with medical supplies, moving at speeds my old hauler couldn't dream of. She'd been serious. She'd actually done it. I stared at the ceiling, trying to reconcile the child-appearing princess with someone who could make that happen with a word. Trying to imagine a future where this was normal, where I stood beside her as she ruled systems I couldn't even name. The 3rd day arrived faster than I wanted. I'd spent the time learning. Tutors came and went, teaching me basic Valkyrie protocol, the structure of the government, the complex web of alliances and obligations that bound the royal family. My head spun with information. Titles, customs, that would take years to fully understand. Silvathara visited each evening, answering questions, explaining context the tutors missed. She was patient, frighteningly intelligent, and occasionally funny in a dry way that caught me off guard. It was getting harder to see just the childlike exterior, easier to recognize the adult mind beneath. But I still didn't want this. Didn't want to be chosen, claimed, kept. The morning of the ceremony, royal attendants arrived to prepare me. The clothing was surprisingly comfortable, adaptive fabric that shifted to fit perfectly, colors that complemented human skin tones while incorporating Valkyrie royal patterns. They tried to explain the significance of each element. This clasp represented unity, this color showed my new rank, this design honored my human heritage while claiming me for the Valkyrie throne. I stopped listening halfway through. It was too much, too fast, too final. The queen herself came to inspect me before the ceremony. She circled once, nodded approval. You look properly royal. Try not to vomit during the proceedings. It would be remembered poorly. Comforting. She almost smiled. My daughter chose well. You have spine. She gestured toward the door. The ceremony is in 1 hour. You'll be escorted to the throne room, presented to the court, and formally betrothed according to ancient custom. The actual marriage will occur in 4 years when Silvathara reaches full maturity. Until then, you'll live in the palace, learn your duties, and prepare to become prince consort. And if I run? But I appreciate the defiant spirit. It will serve you well in court. She moved to leave, then paused. One more thing. The ceremony includes a moment where you may speak freely before the court. Most consorts use it to declare devotion, pledge service, that sort of thing. You may say whatever you wish. No one will stop you. Even if I denounce this whole thing, though I suspect you're smarter than that. She left me with those cryptic words. The guards came exactly on time. They escorted me through corridors I hadn't seen, past crowds of Valkyrie who stared with open curiosity at the human who'd been chosen by their princess. Some looked approving, others looked disgusted. Most just looked confused. The throne room was enormous. Crystalline architecture soaring overhead, bioluminescent patterns pulsing across every surface. Thousands of Valkyrie filled the space, nobles and dignitaries and courtiers, all dressed in their finest, all turning to watch as I entered. At the far end, on thrones of living crystal, sat the queen. Beside her, in a smaller throne, Princess Silvathara waited, dressed in formal regalia that made her look simultaneously more adult and more alien. Our eyes met across that impossible distance. She didn't smile, didn't give me any reassurance, just watched as I walked forward, escorted by guards, my footsteps echoing in the sudden silence. The walk felt like miles. When I finally reached the throne, a court official began speaking in formal Valkyrie, words I'd been taught to expect, announcing my name, my background, the unprecedented honor being bestowed. I caught maybe half of it, too focused on breathing, on not passing out in front of thousands of witnesses. Then Silvathara stood. She descended from her throne with careful precision, stopped directly in front of me. This close, I could see she was nervous too, her secondary arms trembling slightly despite her formal posture. Marcus Webb, she said, her voice amplified somehow to fill the massive space. Do you accept this betrothal, entered freely and witnessed by the court? This was it. The moment I could refuse, could denounce everything, could go down fighting, even if it meant sedation and imprisonment. I looked at her, this strange, brilliant, impossibly young and old creature who'd upended my entire existence. I thought about Kepler Station, supplies delivered at royal speed, about Threshold Station and how much faster help could have arrived with royal resources, about all the routes I'd flown alone, carrying medicine to colonies that barely survived, where a prince consort could maybe, possibly, make actual systemic change instead of just applying bandages to hemorrhaging wounds. I thought about being trapped in this palace for the rest of my life either way. At least if I cooperated, I'd have some agency, some ability to actually accomplish something with this gilded cage. And I thought about her words. At least I chose you. I accept, I heard myself say. But I have conditions. Gasps rippled through the court. The queen leaned forward slightly interested. Silvethera's eyes widened, but she gestured for me to continue. I accept this betrothal, this role, this life. But I won't just be decoration. I won't just smile and wave and stay out of the way. My voice grew stronger as I spoke. I want resources allocated to medical supply chains in the outer colonies. I want reform in how the throne handles humanitarian crises. I want a voice in policy decisions that affect real people, not just nobles. The court erupted in shocked whispers. No one interrupted, though. The queen had promised I could speak freely. I didn't choose this, I continued, looking directly at Silvethera.
You chose for me.
Fine. But if you want a partner who won't be corrupted by power, who'll tell you the truth, then you're going to get exactly that. No hiding, no pretending. No backing down when I see something wrong, even if it's inconvenient or politically awkward. I turned to address the court, this sea of alien faces watching with varying degrees of horror and fascination. I'm human. I'm nobody special. But apparently, I'm your future prince consort, whether any of us like it or not. So we're going to make the best of it. I'll learn your customs, respect your traditions, serve this throne with everything I have. But I'll do it my way. As myself. Take it or leave it. Absolute crushing silence. Then Silvethera started laughing. Not politely, not restrained. Genuine, delighted laughter that echoed through the throne room. She turned to the queen. See? I told you. I told you he was perfect. The queen rose from her throne, descended to stand before us both. She studied me for a long moment, and I was absolutely certain I'd just destroyed whatever small chance I'd had at making this work. Then she smiled. Actually smiled. Well spoken, future prince consort. You'll need that fire in the years ahead. She raised her voice to address the court. Let it be known, Princess Silvethera has chosen wisely. This human will bring new perspective to our throne, challenge our assumptions, and remind us that royalty exists to serve the people, not the reverse. I approve this betrothal and look forward to seeing what this partnership accomplishes. She placed one hand on my shoulder, one on Silvethera's. May you balance each other well. May you rule with wisdom, compassion, and the courage to do what's right even when it's difficult. She stepped back, made a formal gesture. The betrothal is witnessed and accepted. Let the celebrations begin. The court erupted in something between applause and chaos. Music started from somewhere, courtiers began moving, congratulations flowing in a language I barely understood. Through it all, Silvethera stood beside me, her hand finding mine, squeezing once. "Thank you," she whispered, quiet enough only I could hear. For choosing to make this real instead of just enduring it. I looked down at her, this princess who'd kidnapped my future and somehow made me complicit in it. I'm still terrified. So am I. She smiled, and for the first time it reached her eyes. But we'll figure it out together. That's what partners do. The celebration lasted hours. I met nobles whose names I'd never remember, accepted congratulations in 3 languages I didn't speak, and slowly accepted that this was real, was happening, was now my life. Silvethera stayed close, translating when needed, running interference when someone got too pushy or intrusive. Late in the evening, when most of the court had moved on to private celebrations, she led me to a balcony overlooking the palace gardens. The bioluminescent flowers bloomed in patterns that finally looked beautiful instead of alien. You meant what you said, she said. Not a question. About demanding real partnership. Every word. If I'm doing this, I'm doing it right. No halfway measures. You'll make enemies. The court doesn't like change, doesn't like outsiders demanding reform. Will you back me? Always. She turned to face me fully. That's why I chose you, Marcus. Not just because you're kind or honest, but because you'll push me to be better, to do more, to actually use this power for something that matters. I need that. Our people need that. And in 4 years, when this becomes real marriage instead of just political arrangement? She was quiet for a moment. Ask me again in 4 years, after you've seen me as I truly am, not just the princess you were forced to accept. After I've earned your genuine respect instead of just your compliance. She met my eyes. I want you to choose me then, Marcus. Really choose. Not because you were trapped, but because you actually want this partnership. It was the most honest thing she'd said since this whole insane situation began. I found myself respecting her for it, for understanding that being chosen without consent wasn't the same as actually being wanted. Fair enough, I said. 4 years to figure out if we can make this work. 4 years to become partners worth choosing. She smiled, small and genuine. I think we can do it. My ship was still locked in the royal hangar, my old life effectively over, but standing there beside this strange, brilliant princess who'd dragged me into a future I never imagined, I felt something unexpected. Hope. Maybe this wouldn't just be a gilded cage. Maybe it could be something more. A partnership built on truth instead of tradition, on genuine respect instead of political necessity. Maybe being chosen without consent could somehow transform into choosing each other freely. Or maybe I was rationalizing, finding hope in hopelessness because the alternative was despair. Either way, I was committed now. For better or worse, I was the future prince consort of the Valkyrie throne, betrothed to a princess who looked like a child, but thought like a strategist, who'd researched 47,000 candidates and decided I was the one worth keeping. So what happens now? I asked. Now you learn. Study. Prepare. Become someone worthy of standing beside a queen. She glanced at me sideways. And sometimes, when no one's watching, you tell me when I'm being too much of a princess and not enough of a person. Deal? Deal? I held out my hand, the human gesture feeling strange in this alien context. She took it, her four-fingered grip surprisingly strong. Welcome to the palace, Marcus Webb. Try not to let it break you. Try not to let me break your court. She laughed, bright and clear in the night air. I'm counting on it. The future stretched ahead, uncertain and terrifying, and somehow impossibly full of potential. I was trapped, yes. Chosen without consent, claimed by royal decree. But I'd also been given a voice, a platform, resources to actually make change instead of just witnessing problems from the deck of a cargo hauler. Maybe this was insane. Probably it was. But standing there under alien stars, holding hands with a princess who'd decided my fate and then given me the freedom to shape what that fate meant, I thought maybe, just maybe, it could become something worth choosing. 4 years to find out if a human cargo hauler and an alien princess could build something real from a foundation of necessity and royal decree. 4 years to transform a prison into a partnership. I'd faced worse odds. Not much worse, admittedly, but I'd survived. Adapted. Found ways to help people even in impossible situations. This would just be one more impossible situation to navigate. One more problem to solve, except this time I wouldn't be doing it alone. Silvethara squeezed my hand once, then released it. Come on. Tomorrow starts early. You have 6 tutors scheduled and a meeting with the Royal Medical Council about those supply chain reforms you demanded. You are already making it happen? You demanded real partnership. I'm holding you to it. She headed toward the door, then looked back. Keep up, future prince consort. We have work to do. I followed her back into the palace, into my new life, into a future I never chose but was choosing now to embrace. The door sealed behind us, cutting off the view of the gardens and alien stars. Somewhere in the palace, the queen was probably smiling, satisfied her daughter's gamble on a random human had paid off. Somewhere in the outer colonies, medical supplies were arriving faster than ever before because a princess had decided one cargo hauler was worth claiming. Somewhere in this impossible situation there was meaning, purpose, a chance to matter on a scale I'd never imagined. I just had to survive long enough to find it. To become the partner Silvethara had researched and chosen. The consort the court would respect, the prince who could stand beside a queen and make a difference. 4 years? It seemed like forever. It seemed impossibly short. But it was what I had, what we had. And somehow, against all logic and reason, I was starting to believe we could make it count. Her daughter had chosen me. I couldn't leave. But maybe, just maybe, I didn't want to anymore.